Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. So I'm doing the live stream tonight. I'm going to be away tomorrow and Monday. I might do a video tomorrow morning, but I'm away with some friends. We're going to play golf Sunday and Monday. So hopefully I'll be able to make a video tomorrow morning and also Sunday night. Hey, Brian Callahan is first today. Nice to see you, Brad. Sorry, Brian. Tom Manley. Gold Day, everyone. Hi, Tom. So my title is, of course, Q&A. I'll be taking questions. Any questions you guys like, as long as it's within the parameters of the subjects we cover. And I want to talk a little bit about the Dow Gold ratio, what I think is happening, and what I think has happened in the past, and how it's really related to the reset, financial reset. So I'm just going to wait a little bit here. We've got 33 people on right now so far. I am a little earlier. I said I was going to start at 8:30, but yeah, it's always good to start a little early. Hi, Lulu from New York. Powder Driver X. Good evening, Powder Driver. Urhan Sahin. Nice to see you, everyone here. Neil Featherstone from Houston. Oh, thank you, Neil. The other day, I think you sent me a donation. I appreciate that. It's always nice to get some of those. Quaz PLM. Good evening, Quaz. Kaz PLM. TMP. Bonsoir. Bonsoir, TMP. Vous êtes à Lille, en France. Bien. C'est bien. J'aime bien la France. Hello, Ogie Bogie. Steve C. EO's looking good. Another airdrop. TPS record at 3,000. Yeah, there's quite a few airdrops on EOS. I think I've got more than 10 so far. They kind of fluctuate how can I say, how they come. I mean, I got quite a few weeks ago. Now they slow down a bit. I think it's because REM has gotten a bit more expensive. It has come off though. Good evening, Wayne. Good evening, Hurricane Annie from Sweden. Hi, Annie. Nice to see you here. Dan Gombert. Aspiradoras. Nice to see you. Christopher Hansworth. Good morning from Sydney. Yeah, it's early there. You guys are about 10 hours ahead, so it's very early on a Sunday morning, sorry. TPS, transactions per second. Oh, they're up to, I think those transactions per second, they're going to keep increasing as the network gets bigger and bigger. Tony Ellis from Liverpool. Love your work. Keep doing just what you're doing. Oh, thanks, Tony, for the compliment, and thanks for the feedback. It's nice to know that people are enjoying what I'm doing. Yeah, great. Vincent from the Netherlands. Hi, Vincent. Powder Driver. The beating that the precious metals received this past week was insane. Are the powers that be trying just to make them extremely unattractive? I'm not sure, you see. I think there's a point where they won't let it go too much lower because, in my opinion, gold is very important for the banking system. We wouldn't have bullion banks and we wouldn't have central banks holding gold if it wasn't important. And they control the price, right? But they can't drive it down so low that mining gold becomes like uneconomical, because what that will mean is that the flow of new gold supplies will stop, and their game of selling paper and controlling the price will get very difficult. So I think there comes a point, and we're right around that level, around 1,200, where they will have to, where they can't keep doing that. And we saw that gold bottomed at 1212 thereabouts on Thursday, and we closed the week above 1230. Am I saying this is the bottom? Difficult to say, but in the end of the day, gold is insurance, gold is money. It is frustrating what they do, but when it goes up, and it needs to go up, the bankers and they'll be on the right side of that trade. So that's what I think. Of course, they do try to keep it unattractive for the general public by making it move around a lot. By making it seem that it's very risky and that it's not safe. That's what they do. But that's their strategy to keep people in their fiat game. But over the long term, we know that it's not a bad place to be, right? Marcus, Diego, do you think Tiger can win the jog from four shots back? Four shots back. Yeah, I watched the Open today, the golf. Tiger played really well. I think 4 shots is nothing, especially tomorrow. There's supposed to be a lot of wind, so we'll have to see. But there's a lot of players that can win. But Tiger is definitely playing well. But so are the other guys, Jordan Spieth and the other guys leading with him. Bitcoin Ben, hi Bitcoin Ben, nice to see you here. Thank you. I like your show too. You have a great show too. Gas PLM, you mentioned before that a good time to think about selling gold is when the spot price is 1/3 of the Dow. Did I catch that right? No, I didn't say that. Actually, I haven't talked about the ratio yet, but I'm just waiting to get more people in here. We've got 83. Usually we get more people. Dan from Pembrokeshire, nice to see you here. Yeah, it's sunny all over the UK. I mean, today was a bit overcast here, but it's still very hot. David Montrose from Michigan. Hi, David. Chris Phillip, good afternoon from the cornfields of Indiana. Great to see people from all over the world. T. Hambone, how can you tell which airdrops you received from holding staked EOS? Can't seem to figure it out. Well, the thing about the airdrops is that if you weren't registered at the Genesis mainnet, when they took the snapshot on June 1st, I think, or June 2nd, if you weren't registered and didn't have a private and public key, I don't know what happens, but I was registered then, and it was really important to be registered because all the airdrops are based on that snapshot. And I heard a lot of people on Telegram chats just before that Genesis snapshot of EOS. They're saying, "Oh, I'm going to sell it here and buy it back when things are, more clear." And yeah, they're waiting for the launch and they're going to buy it back. The thing is, if they did that, they're not getting any of these airdrops. So the way to look at what airdrops you've gotten is to go into the to a wallet. I've used Simple EOS wallet, but right now I use the Gray Mass wallet. Steve C, do you hold cryptos besides EOS or EOS? I have some Bitcoin, yeah, some Bitcoin, and all the airdrops from EOS. Yeah, Bitcoin and some Ethereum, but yeah, quite a bit of Bitcoin now, and not so much Ethereum. I know Bitcoin Ben likes Litecoin. I had some Litecoin at the moment. I haven't got any Litecoin, but you never know. I might get some. Gesso new Andrew Maguire audio. Will this move owners of bank store allocated precious metals move their holdings? I haven't listened to the interview. I saw the headline. Apparently now the Swiss banks are not letting people, big institutions take their physical. It looks like they don't want to give away their physical. That to me shows that there might be something in the pipeline coming in terms of price. And, they've offered this Swiss foundation to do cash settlements. Maybe people have, they're going to have to go outside the bullion banks and access gold through other avenues, because it looks like the bullion banks don't want to let people have their physical. Andrew Tsialas from Greece. Nice to see you from Greece. Let's see, Bitcoin. Ben, what's your thoughts on the CBOE Bitcoin ETF application? You think it will be approved? Well, the CBOE already has they already trade futures on Bitcoin. I didn't know they wanted to apply for an ETF license. It will probably be approved. There's two futures on Bitcoin, CBOE and CBOT. They're different exchanges. Sorry, CBOE and CME. The CBOE is the Chicago Board of Options Exchange, and the CME is a different exchange which also owns the CBOT. It owns the COMEX. Yes, T. Hambone, you just need to go into a wallet and, you have to type in your private key, of course, and go into a wallet. Get a wallet and you'll see all your airdrops in there. Or also, yeah, that's what I would recommend. O'Regan, Dr. O'Regan, what's the point of a bank crypto? We're using crypto because, yeah, I don't see a point of a bank crypto. Cryptos are a way to get away from the banking system. So I don't, I agree with you. No, hey everybody, show Mario the love and smash the like button below. Be sure that to share that. Yeah, he's my cheerleader. No. Tony L, do you think there will be a gold-backed digital coin? I think some people are working on it already. There probably will be. We'll have to see. I mean, it will be a free market. Hopefully, there will be competition. So I think, Glint is already a bit like that, even though they don't use the blockchain, so it's a bit centralized. It's difficult with gold because it's difficult to decentralize a holding of a physical asset. But I think gold and silver will always be the, how can I say, especially gold, the incorruptible, the original cryptocurrencies. Because gold, there's a story the other day that they found a Russian warship from the Russo-Japanese War of 1905, and there's rumors that there's a lot of gold in that ship, and that ship has been there over 100 years, right? But you find the gold, it's there's nothing happened to it. It's immutable, right? So gold is the ultimate cryptocurrency, really, in my opinion. And silver. Silver does lose some of its, it does get kind of not rusty, but you get more damage. It doesn't look as nice, right, as gold. I mean, for example, I've got here, what year is this? 1964 quarter, right? And you can see it's a bit dirty there, right? But I've got a 1965 gold sovereign, and it's in perfect condition, right? So I want to talk a little bit about the Dow Gold ratio because I think it's really important. I think it's one of the ways that the people who run the system, how can I say, reset the system. And why is that? Well, because the Dow is the indicator of the health of paper assets, and gold is the indicator of the health of physical assets. And I'm looking at a chart here, which I won't be able to show because I haven't worked out how to do it on the webcam, but it's a 100-year chart, right? And the Dow Gold ratio went up to almost 20 at the height of the stock market bubble in 1929, right? and then it dropped all the way to around, yeah, just around 2 in 1933. So we revalued, from 20 to 2. So that means that the price of gold, the price of the Dow was just over 2 times the price of gold, right? And then, from 1933 until 1966, we had another credit boom, right? And the Dow was worth over 26 times the price of gold. And then from 1966, we had another kind of reset that took 14 years, and the price, and that ratio was almost 1-to-1. The Dow was around 800 and gold got up above 800, right? So, and then since 1980, 1981, we've had this huge credit bubble, and actually the Dow gold ratio topped above 40 at the end of 1999. And since then, we've been going down. We went down to, let's see, just above 6 in 2011 when gold went up to 1900. And ever since then, that trend, we've corrected up. That means paper assets have done a lot better. And we've gone from just below 6, from around 6 to right now around 20. But I think this is an artificial, how can I say? I think the correction from 2000 should have gone down all the way to 1, and I think it still will. It might not be 1, it could be 2, and I think we're very near that turning point. So what I'm trying to say is that the Dow gold ratio will correct back down, and if we go to 1, that means the price of gold, 1 ounce of gold will be the price of the Dow Jones Industrial Average. At what price is difficult to say, but I would probably say somewhere like 6,000 to 6,000. I would say, and why 6,000? Well, because 6,000 is a key level in the Dow. That was the low from the last correction, in 2008 to 2007 to 2009. Or it could be lower if we have a real implosion of the Dow. Yeah, and that will be kind of because I think right now the paper assets, and that includes stocks, bonds, derivatives, corporate bonds, I think they're too inflated. They're out of whack with reality and value. And I think commodities, real things, are massively undervalued. So I think we need to see that. That will be the way that things will reset. I think it happened. The last time there was a reset, of course, was 1980. Before that, 1933. And I think in 1980, 1981, people didn't even notice that it was a reset. The average person didn't realize it. And I didn't realize it back then. I was about 15, 16. But that's what I think is happening. So now that I've ranted about the Dow gold ratio, I'm going to look at some of the questions I missed here. Let's have a look. People, Labbook 84, people always bring up confiscation. No, I don't think they're going to confiscate gold and silver in the US because it's not as important. It's not part of the monetary system, and it's not widely owned like it was in 1933. Q translated, hi, Q translated. Chris Weinert, which precious metals do you think will perform the best in the present cost of future? Well, silver will outperform gold, I think. And but I haven't really looked. I mean, palladium and platinum, they will do well as well, but I don't cover those as much, so I wouldn't want to talk about those. But the gold-silver ratio, I think, will go down. That means that silver will outperform. Pad, what is your conclusion with the dollar? Have we topped here, or are we going higher through the end of the month? Well, good question, Pat. I was actually looking before starting this live stream at a chart, of the dollar index. And to me, it definitely looks like, looking at the chart here, uh, we've this 95 to 96 level is a really big resistance. We topped around 95 in November of last year, and we've been testing that 95 and failing to stay above there. Let's see, since the end of May. And this week, with the comments by Trump, we went from a high of 95.65 and we closed the week at 94.47. So right now, yeah, that 95 level is really key. If we drop below 94 in the coming week, we could see the dollar resume its move lower. So yeah, definitely at key levels here, but it's finding it difficult to go up above 95, the dollar index. I hope that helps, Pat. Ton Manley, I've been hearing that the gold held Federal Reserve was stolen from Russia. Any thoughts? Well, yeah, I've read a lot about this. What's his name? Anthony Sutton wrote, and he's got about how Wall Street helped the Bolshevik Revolution. And there's proof. There's there's information, and it's proven. And they killed the whole royal family, the Romanovs, didn't they? They killed everyone. And that was actually the 100th anniversary of the murder was 18th of July. They took them down to a basement or cellar, and they shot them all. 4 kids, the Tsar Nicholas. And I think Tsar Nicholas was probably one of the richest men in the world back then. I mean, Russia is a huge country, right? And there are rumors that he had a lot of gold with U.S. banks and even London banks, right? But the fact that, and if Wall Street was behind the Bolsheviks, they said, yeah, go ahead, get rid of them. So there's no one that can claim all that gold. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the Fed has a lot of that Romanov gold. Russian gold, imperial gold. Yeah, definitely. It's a really interesting topic, but I'm sure, the mainstream won't talk about that, of course. But yeah, Anthony Sutton, he died a few years ago, but he was a fellow researcher at the Hoover Institution, at Stanford University. So his books are very credible. Not only did Wall Street help the Bolshevik Revolution, but they also helped, Wall Street helped Germany in the 1930s. So M640, hi Mara, how long we could see silver? How low could we see silver? Not much lower than here, I would say. Yeah, I mean, it held well and it did well on late Thursday and Friday. So I don't think it's going much lower. Yeah. Enzo D, any thoughts on UK property market? When will the real correction or dump occur? When interest rates start going up. Right now, UK interest rates are still really low. I mean, all European rates are really low. For example, the 10-year yield, government bond yield in the UK is 1.23%, and it's only gone up 6 basis points in the last year. While, for example, the US 10 years at 289, and it's gone up 66 basis points. So when interest rates start going up in the UK, then we could see housing get worse. How long the Bank of England will be able to keep manipulating these interest rates lower, I don't know. But it will happen. If it doesn't make sense that the UK has so much debt and the interest rate is so low. Hi, Brian, the maestro's here. Nice to see you. The Cypress tree won. Trump wants dollar lower. The world is pissed at Trump, so they raised the dollar. Well, I mean, the Fed hasn't helped. I guess they've been quite hawkish, the Fed. They're keeping raising rates. And the world is dependent on the dollar because it's a reserve currency. And with a dollar, you look at the cost of borrowing in dollars, it's gone up massively in the last year, while the costs, and that's the currency that a lot of people borrow in, a lot of the other countries, because it's a reserve currency. So if you borrow in a currency that where the rates start going up and the value starts going up, you get people trying to buy it back, because to borrow, you sell it, right? You go short. So it's kind of a short covering rally. So I don't really think the strong dollar that we've seen lately is a reflection of a strong U.S. economy. The economy only looks good because Trump is, we have almost 5% budget deficit now in the U.S. The government is basically financing this recovery. The tax cut has been passed without cuts in the government. Juru 84, JPMorgan stacking tons of silver. Yeah, they are. I mean, I watched a report the other day from Ed Steer, Steer. If you Google Ed Steer Cambridge House speech on YouTube, there's a really good video, and he talks about how JPMorgan has really bought a lot of physical gold on the COMEX. And there's speculation that they have even more silver outside the COMEX system. Bullish, you will also have some in your ETH address where your EOS was before Genesis block was created. Yeah, I do have some, like a meet.1. They've done an airdrop, but it's in the ERC, it's still an ERC20 token. They will transform into EOS token. Yeah, and there's some other ones. Bill Bonner, yeah, I have that book, Financial Reckoning by Bill Bonner. 3,000 to 3,000 is possible. And yeah, of course, and it doesn't really matter where gold is. Even if gold is at 1,000, but the Dow is at 1,000, everything else will be decimated, right? But at 1,000, gold will be very valuable value-wise. So it doesn't really matter. It's the ratio that matters. But I think at the level we're now, which is 20 in the Dow gold ratio, I think we're near a top, definitely. And this has just been a counter trend rally since 2011, only because there's been so much manipulation. They've just delayed the inevitable. The inevitable is that the Dow gold ratio will correct, from 2000, which was around 46, that Dow gold ratio, and it will go all the way down to 1 or 2. That's my view. Most probably more towards 1, and it could even go below 0, or it could go that gold will be worth more than the Dow. So, and I don't think we've seen that in the last 100 years, but that would be really something else. And that's when you probably want to liquidate some of your gold and buy financial assets, right? Assets, and no one will probably be wanting to do that at that time. Things will be so bad. Brian Callahan, what is the minimum amount of gold everybody should own? Well, it's difficult to say because everyone has different, how can I say, financial situation. But percentage-wise, I would say at least 30% of your liquid monetary assets, right? I would say, personally, I wouldn't hold that much fiat. Only hold enough fiat that you need for expenses to have, for your payments, monthly payments, and things like that. Vincent DB, thank you, Vincent. Thank you. Pat, do you think the powers that be are still on both sides of this set of issues that Trump is fighting, as they usually are? So it doesn't matter the outcome. Yeah, it's really difficult to say. I mean, what's it, right now? I think Trump is fighting the deep state, but there he's fighting a faction of the deep state. Trump is part of the deep state, but I would say there's a evil deep state here that he's fighting that's been in charge, in control, probably since Kennedy was shot. And there's like a good deep state that's been fighting this evil deep state, and I think Trump is part of that. Yeah, there are some people, of course, who thinks he's just part of one deep state, but I don't think the deep state is monolithic. I think there are actually good guys in the deep state. I hope. David Buckner, hello and good day to you. Have you heard anything about Trump going after the Fed? What's that all about? Well, I heard his comments and his tweets. He said that he was saying what he would say as a private individual, that he thinks the Fed is doing too much in terms of raising rates. But he said at the same time that the Fed is independent and they do whatever they want. But I think it's difficult, for the president to say that. I think the Fed, it might influence the Fed. After all, the president can sack the chairman of the Federal Reserve because he nominated him, right? Jay Powell. So we'll have to see. John Smith, do you own much of the miners, and are you considering selling a little or taking any other defense maneuvers? I have some miners that I have in it's called a SIP, which is like an IRA in the UK, like a private pension, self-managed by myself. And it hasn't done great. I would just leave it there. I had some other miners in a broking account, but I was frustrated with it, and I sold some of it. And right now I don't have any miners. But I do have the cryptocurrencies. I think they're going to act a lot like the miners, very volatile. So I prefer to have that. Of course, I have physical gold and silver, always will, for as long as I can. But the miners, of course, will do really well once the price of gold and silver start going up. Power Driver X, is it possible JPMorgan is buying and holding the huge amount of silver for someone else? Yeah, that's right. A lot of these bullion banks, they have customers, clients, and they I remember when I was a futures broker for over 20 years, JPMorgan is the biggest clearer for futures, or at least it was when I was there, and I still believe it probably still is. And I remember in the futures market, some of your clients, they're just execution clients, which means they have a clearing account with JPMorgan and they come and execute through you. So JPMorgan, the JPMorgan futures accounts, it could be anyone. They could be holding silver for the US government as well, or for the Chinese, or for the Russians. Maybe not the Russians, but so yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean that all that silver is for JPMorgan, because they act as a broker, JPMorgan. James Miller, keep on fighting the good fight. I look forward to your videos every day. That's really great, James, your feedback. At least, to know, that people are enjoying my my videos. Thank you. Uh, Amzo D. Marius, all the gold in the world, if all the gold in the world was on the blockchain, it would stop paper manipulation, one would hope. Well, the problem right now is that the central banks, they hold about 30,000 tons of all the gold, which is about just under a fifth of all the gold that's ever, that's out there, ever been mined. And so it's not like over 50%, but it's a concentrated, holding. And at the moment, they've got control of the market. That's what they're scared of, that to lose control of the market and people start, taking physical out. And that's why the bullion banks are doing what they do. They refuse delivering physical gold. And you can bet that it's the central banks that tell them not to deliver it. And that's why I encourage people, even if we're small investors and stuff, to buy the physical, take it out of circulation. It might not sound a lot if you buy a few ounces, that will make a difference. But if you have thousands and hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people doing that, that would help. So that's why people need to ignore paper gold, right? Just do the physical. Thanks, James Miller from LA. Chris Weiner, what are your comments on less traditional emerging physical silver markets such as China or India? Do you mean like the miners there, or I mean India? The Indians buy a lot of silver, and I think a few years ago when they kind of put controls on gold, the Indians bought a lot of silver. China, I'm not too sure. I would assume that they're into their silver as well. NASDAQ SC, is Henry Kissinger behind Trump policy? You never know. I mean, Henry Kissinger, I think Donald Trump met with Henry Kissinger when he was president-elect. I'm not sure. Henry Kissinger is, I think Henry Kissinger is a hot Rockefeller man, isn't he? But I'm sure there is some connection there. Daryl Lowry, given the gold alliance China and Russia have formed, do you think Western central banks are trying to drive a wedge between them? I think they are. Not the Western central banks. It's more the political, all the Russia bashing. I think it's failing. And I think Russia and China are going to be more and more allied, which is ironic because I think the West, listening to Professor Anthony Sutton in his videos, and this was prior to the fall of the Soviet Union in the 80s. He thought the idea of the powers that be was that the next war, World War III, would be set off between China and Russia or the Soviet Union. And that's backfired because China and Russia now are allies. Yeah, they don't like it, but I think they won't be able to do anything about it. They can't. It's, even President Trump, I think, realizes that Russia is not a threat, even though the mainstream media, they've gone crazy about this summit, haven't they? But I think the biggest threat to the U.S. is from within inside the U.S. That's what someone said years ago, that the U.S. would not be conquered from without, but from within. And I think that's what Trump is fighting. He's fighting the evil deep state. Mickey, according to Big Swear, they have been mining in the Grand Canyon. No, he hasn't said that. You haven't read Big Swear. There hasn't been any mining in the Grand Canyon. There were reports in 1912 that there was a lot of gold there. Some people tried to mine it there, but they didn't find any gold and it would have been too expensive. But I don't think there's been any mining. And Big Swear says there's millions of tons of gold there. But Only 160,000 tons have been found, uh, have been mined in the history of mankind. I think Big Swear, I don't know. He doesn't have any proof about that. He does like to come up with some interesting stories, but any proof behind them, I don't know. I don't think so. There isn't. Sarah Jessica Farter. All alt-right and Muslims working together to bring down the West. Alt-right. I don't know. I mean, I think I think it's been the elites who have been trying to do that, Sarah. They always try to divide and conquer people in order to keep control of people, right? They don't want the United States. Well, they didn't want the United Kingdom to be too strong, so they brought it down with World War I, World War II. And then they brought up the United States, right? They don't want the United States to be too strong and independent, so they try to bring it down. But now Trump has put a spanner in the works, right? Because he wants the United States to be sovereign again and independent and strong, and the globalists hate that. So I don't think it's the alt-right or any other faction. Pablo Pina, hi Mario. Why was the IMF created if they are not a country? Well, the IMF was created after World War II. It's part of the Bretton Woods Agreement, International Monetary Fund, and was created to manage the monetary system, the global monetary system, the dollar system. It was supposed to help countries when they had a balance of payment deficits. The IMF would come in and help rectify that. That's what it was created for, the IMF. Amzo, Mary, do you believe the economists cover Phoenix New World Order? Does it say New World Order or New World Currency, isn't it? Well, we are 30 years after that cover, 1988, and it's supposed to come in 2018. We still got 5 months, 5.5 months to see what's going to happen. I guess I'll believe it if it happens. At the moment, I'm not too sure. These nuts. You're correct, Mario. The unelected lifetime bureaucrats are puppets of the central banksters. Lobbyists is proven FBI and CIA created the Russian bogeyman. Yeah, that's right. I think FBI, CIA are all arms of the globalists and the bankers. And that's why I've never voted, because I don't think it really matters. What's important is that you try to be self-reliant and to be as least dependent on these people as possible. Unfortunately, it's difficult to be completely out of the system. You go out, especially here in the UK, and you buy things, you consume, you're paying tax. So unless you want to go and live in the middle of the woods, it's difficult to get completely out of the system. But yeah, I wouldn't get deluded into thinking that they're doing anything for us. And that's why I don't really bother, really. Nacho Kano, hi Mario, I like your show. Do you believe internet info about silver reserves on the ground, about 9 to 7 more years of silver? I haven't seen that story, so I can't really comment on that. Power Driver X, is there a danger that precious metals miners will get nationalized? Of course, especially in some of the less developed countries, or it could even happen in more developed countries. If things get really bad and the price of precious metals go through the roof. You can bet that governments will try to get a piece of those mining assets. The Cypress tree one. Why does Trump only want to be close to Saudi Arabia and Israel? Well, Saudi Arabia, of course, is because of the petrodollar, and they've got a lot of money. The Saudis, and I think they've got about over 10%, I think, or it could even be 20% of all of the stock market in the US is owned by the Saudis. So you can understand why he wants to be nice to them. Israel, I mean, the Israel lobby, I don't think you can get elected in the US if the Israeli AIPAC is behind you. So that's why he's he's thinking of 2020 Trump, you see. That's why. Bobby is married. Do you think that the price of gold will be manipulated by the future crypto elite? Uh, uh, I don't know. I don't know if there will be a future crypto elite or if they'll manipulate it. Uh, maybe they'd have to accumulate gold to do that, I think. On Nasdaq SC, what is the biggest threat for the global economy? Well, right now it seems to be all the trade wars. Yeah, that's the biggest threat. But it's only happening because of all the debt that's been created. All the debt, yeah, that's, is the trade wars are a symptom. Uh, let's see. Pad notes that volume on Friday, miners skyrocketed as much as tenfold, but yet miners held up nicely. Could be a nice August. Yeah. MRJ L78. Any comment on GRG unit of RBS? Their report has been leaked showing they ran thousands of SMEs into the ground, the parliament trying to bury it. Yeah, I saw the Kaiser report on that. Yeah, I mean, it's completely, the government is trying to cover it up. This is here in the UK, RBS, which is government owned. They basically destroyed small companies to buy cheap their assets on the cheap. But the banking system in the UK is very corrupt. I mean, HSBC a few years ago was fined by the US. No one went to jail. They laundered billions of dollars for Mexican drug lords, but nothing happens to them. Unfortunately, the bankers and the politicians are in bed still in the UK. Hopefully that will change because it's wrong. We need to have the rule of law. And I would argue in the US is the same. The bankers are in charge. Fiat money bank, like Rothschild said, give me control of the money supply and I care not who makes the laws, right? So until we get rid of these central banksters, or like maybe build a parallel system, which cryptocurrencies could be, uh, we have to keep doing that. That's maybe the way out, because I don't think, if you talk to politicians and say we need to abolish the Bank of England or the Fed, very few of them will understand, what you're talking about and why it's important that we do. Bitcoin about to jump. Let's see, where are we right now? Yeah, 7,500 Bitcoin. I think technically Bitcoin needs to break through 7,800. It's looking pretty good technically already. Chris Weiner, are market manipulators too big to jail and regulate? Well, they are in charge of the jails and the regulators. So, you know, it's the question of who guards the guards, right? So, Power Driver X, do you think the UK government could start buying up gold before Brexit? I've been thinking about that for years, because the UK only has 300 tons and we got so much debt. I remember, I think the Queen went to the Bank of England once, and she met with the Chancellor of the Exchequer, and who at the time was Osborne, and you could overhear it right on on television. She said, "We got rid of a lot of this gold, and why did we do that? We should have some more." Kind of that what she said, and he said to her, "Yeah, don't worry," or something like that. But what you will find when if the UK government starts buying gold again, you will only find out about it once it's done, right? When they sold, they actually pre-announced it because they wanted the price to go down. But when they want to buy it, they're not going to tell you beforehand, right? They're going to do it. They could be doing it as we speak here, and we don't know about it. But to be honest, I doubt they're going to buy any gold. Juro 84, why is JPMorgan the only bank which stacks silver? Well, as I said before, JPMorgan is the biggest clearer for futures, right? So they could be stacking a lot of gold for clients. So we don't know if it's for JPMorgan per se. JPMorgan has its own account, futures account, but most of the JPMorgan accounts are sub accounts for their clients. So we don't know. It could be for China. It could be for a big institution. Walter Dean, hi Mario. How are small retail businesses doing in the UK? Not well at all. Because what I would say on the high street, what you do see new shops opening up, but they don't last more than 2 years, and then they close down. Yeah, there's a lot of empty shops out there. It's not doing well at all, the small retailer. Why? Well, there's a lot of regulations, a lot of taxation, VAT, there's business rates, which is a local tax, but it goes to the central government. Not worth opening a small shop in the UK. George Assad, yesterday they announced the Rothschild backs. I don't understand what you're saying, George. If you could clarify what you're trying to say there about the Rothschild. Is it banks? Rothschild banks, I assume? JP Morgan is one of the zombie banks controlled by the Rothschilds. Yeah, probably. I mean, some people, when JP Morgan, the JP Morgan died in the early 1900s, it was found that he didn't have that many assets. Actually, some people speculated that it was all Rothschild assets. I wouldn't be surprised if someone left 10 pounds of silver on the front porch and no one would touch it. But if you leave one shiny gold coin, it would be gone fast. Probably. I mean, have you seen Mark Dice on YouTube? He's done these experiments. Sometimes people won't even want the gold coin. Scott Wordle, Mario, what, if anything, do you miss about living in the US? Would you consider retiring to Florida? Well, I didn't live for that long in the US. I lived there as a student in Florida. Uh, I don't know. I mean, US is nice, but there are other nicer places. I like Florida, but not sure. I do have family in Florida, some family in Florida, but what I miss about the US, well, I guess Americans are more upbeat, more open, more friendly, generally, I would say. But the British are as well. They seem reserved, but once you get to know them, they're really nice too. Uh, I think in the US, one example though, in the US, let's say you buy a really nice car and you drive home and your neighbor sees you. American, your neighbor will go, "Oh, really nice car, well done." Here in the UK, you buy a nice car, people look at you, "Oh, look at that flash git." That's the expression, right? There's more envy, but I don't know if I mean I would probably consider retiring more like in Brazil, in the south of Brazil, because I have Brazilian passport, and it's a really nice place. Some nice places there, and it's a lot cheaper. So I don't know, and I don't have a U.S. passport. I guess you can go and stay there for a few months, but Georgia said Rothschild's bank caught money laundering. Well, I don't think anything will happen to them. Didn't happen to HSBC. But if you have the link to the story, I'd like to see it, George. I haven't heard about the news of Rothschild's money laundering. Drew 84. I'm hoping for a world without money where what we produce, what we need for everyone, where everyone cares about everyone. Uh, well, a world without about money would, yeah, I mean, it's a difficult thing, isn't it? Because without money, everyone would have to be subsisted. Everyone would have to have like a farm. There wouldn't be specialization. But I get what you mean there, Drew 84. What I think has happened is gone too far. People don't realize that money is just like an instrument, right? Money isn't everything. That you need to create value and produce things, and that just having money for the sake of money is not the right thing, right? So that's where we are. And I think the fiat money system that we've had encourages that. That's why I think we will revert to more of what you're saying, but it will be painful. Look at Trump right now. He's trying to revert some of the other stuff, and look how people are getting crazy about it and going crazy. Can you imagine if when the system reverts back to how it should be more, how people will feel? It's going to be really painful for a lot of people, and they won't know what happened to them. Georgia sad. Mary, you would love Chautauqua, New York in the summer. I'm sure I would. I mean, there's a lot of nice places in the US in the summer. Chautauqua. Is that upstate New York, George? Paul Conlon. Hi, I've recently found your channel and really resonate with your content. Thanks in regards from Australia. Oh, you're welcome, Paul. Thanks. David Buckner, Lynette Zeng said the same thing, something of value, a skill of value. That's right. Best website. Do you think we're living in a computer simulation? No, I'm pinching myself. I can feel it. I'm not software. All right. So yeah, I'll do another 15 minutes if people, want to ask more questions. We've been here for an hour already. There's some new people coming on here. .com. Monaco, do you think will prevail? What do you think will prevail in the end, Bitcoin or gold and silver? I think all three will prevail. .com. Billy, he's upstairs with my daughter right now, so I left him up there. I'll have a look, George, at the Rothschild story. Best website. You are not solid. Nothing is solid if you zoom in far enough. Well, I guess if you look back at Tesla, he thinks everything is electrical waves, isn't it? We're just wavelengths. I agree. It seems that we're solid. We're just different wave. How can I forgot the term, but I agree with you. I don't know Nasdaq if the Rothschilds are behind crypto and the blockchain. I don't know. They could be, they indirectly they could, because uh, academia, at universities, research. There's so many layers, and they're all endowed by big money, aren't they? So it all seeps into the way people think. MZOD. I'm shocked on BBC this week. They actually discuss quantitative easing and its damage on the economy. BBC usually suppress everything. Well, the UK press, a lot of times they come out and talk about things like that, but it's a one off and then they never cover it again. So that they do that, but it doesn't mean that they're going to go against it. Yeah, I like Dr. Franz Pick. I have his book, George. Yeah, I think crypto is kind of has been an escape valve for the inflation that we've had. And by inflation, I mean all the monetary, the trillions that have been printed out of thin air in the last few years. But it will eventually go into gold and silver and hard assets. Doug Bailey, yeah, ICE 9, it's an interesting theory. Yeah. But the thing is, when is it going to happen? That's difficult to say. There will be ICE 9, something that will trigger it. It's an interesting theory. I agree, George. Only money you can trust is gold. Well, the thing about Deutsche Bank, I think all the other banks are kind of being nice to Deutsche Bank, because if Deutsche Bank goes, all the other banks will go. So at the moment, it's a zombie bank, right? All the big international banks are zombie banks, and you can bet the ECB is buying assets to help Deutsche Bank with their QE. Brian Callahan, do you ever do the show with no pants on because nobody would know? No, I don't. And I know what you mean. When we ever see helicopter money, I don't know. We might be close to a helicopter money, especially if we get elections in the UK, general elections, and the Labour Party wins. They could come up with helicopter money. Bobius, Mary, do you think that EOS will overtake Ethereum in volume and or price in the near future? I do. That's why I've put money into EOS. I do think it will do as well, if not better, than Ethereum. But I'm sure, you know, Ethereum, they're working on improving as well. But I heard someone say that trying to improve Ethereum is trying to get out of a car that's going at 100 miles an hour, right? So it's very difficult. Monaco's British. They always wear pants, even in bed. Actually, here in the UK, it's called trousers. Pants in the UK is underwear. I know the Americans call it pants. Yeah, George. The central banks, they're holding all the rubbish, toxic assets in their balance sheets. They took it from the banks. Yes, it's just you know, kind of outrageous. Jacare Lagoa, thank you for the super chat donation. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. .com, is it true that people in the UK don't brush their teeth? That's not true. Jack Lackey, hi Mario, I love what you do. Stack silver and gold. Thanks to my wife. She came from a communist country. Gold is all she believes in. From St. Pete, Florida. Great. Say hi to Billy. I will. Oh, RR saying at George Assad, many zombie corporations also. Yeah, I saw an interesting video the other day, and I'd seen it before, but I hadn't looked at that idea or concept or fact for a while. Did you know that in the US, there's only $250 billion of physical Federal Reserve notes or physical dollar notes? 250 billion, right? But there's 11 trillion of consumer spending every year. So how can people spend all that money if there's only 250 billion in physical notes? Well, it's because the rest of it is credit, right? So if there's a little like thing that goes wrong in the credit market, it could all implode, and there isn't enough physical money in the system. Yeah, so it's all based on, you know, like RR said, they're all zombies. They're all running on credit. And if the credit market or the credit system freezes, it will be ugly. And that's not only for the US, it's for all the UK included and Western Europe. Mickey, do British men wear socks to bed because of the cold, damp weather? Well, right now it's not cold and damp, it's very hot. Mickey, the 10 trillion deposit is only book entry, you know, electronic book entries. What I'm talking about is 250 billion in actually paper notes, in actually, you know, 250 billion dollars of, you know, or pounds of actually D's. So, and a lot of the dollar bills are actually outside the United States, in other countries. Yes, George. I mean, there's a lot of bubbles out there. Everything is on credit. And the other thing that we have in the UK, I think, is a symptom of the, you know, the credit bubble, fiat money bubble, is all the betting companies. You know, you can. I was watching a bit of the golf today, the British Open golf, and all these advertisements on betting, on football, on stuff, and they even say, "Oh, you can leverage your bets." You know, it's ridiculous. Mareko, do you even what, mate? Sorry, I don't understand what you mean there. .com. MZOD, I just don't understand why Trump is telling the Fed to lower interest rates. I don't think he's telling them to lower interest rates, but he's telling them to stop raising it. The sprinkler ninja, cats are in a bubble. I saw kittens for $200 at the pet store. Sell your kittens, buy dogs. Dogs are under. Yeah, I prefer dogs, but it's not really a trade, is it? Billy was very cheap. My wife and I called Billy the credit crunch puppy. We bought him in the summer of 2008, and the breeder that sold him to us, he was the last one left, and he couldn't sell him. I think he had him up for like 500 pounds, and he actually let us have him for 250. Not that we negotiated, but he told us, you know, I want 250 for it. And he said I had him up for 500. So yeah, Billy was a credit crunch puppy, so he was really good value. Uh, Even though I would have paid 500 for him, you know, if it's not, you know, it's a dog. All right. Uh, yeah, I agree with you about inflation, 10% or more. Yeah, Pedro Araujo Monaco, Trump doesn't want rates to be raised by the Fed. He's protecting the population from the collapse by delaying it. Yeah, he's just trying to keep the party going, isn't he? Even though when he was campaigning, he said the stock market was the mother of all bubbles, but now the stock market at 10,000 points higher, according to him, that means the economy is doing well, right? So, yeah, I think I'll take three more questions, and I'm going to call it a night. Let's have a look. Someone I haven't taken a question from. Peter Tenalia, Bitcoin pump equals capital flight from China. Yeah, there was a website a few years ago. It's still probably around. You can see where the Bitcoins are going, and a lot of it is going towards China. Yeah, Paul Volcker, he did what he had to do. But it was Paul Volcker who advised Nixon to close the gold window. And he was just cleaning up his mess 9 years later uh, by letting rates go to 20%. Okay, Jim Butler has a question. What are your thoughts on the conversion to cashless? Well, I think it's the powers that be in the banking system. They know that it's easier to control the public if they go cashless. People won't take money out of the bank, but I think it won't work. Even if they go cashless, you can still take money out of the system, right? By buying physical assets. So I don't think it will work. Scott Wordle, will that's my penultimate question here. and it's a golf one. Will Jordan Spieth win the British Open? He's looking good, and yeah, he's looking good. He won it last year, and if he wins again back to back, he'll be the first player to win it back to back under the age of 25 since 1868, when young Tom Morris won back to back. So it would be quite historic. But you never know with golf. You never know. It'll be a good, interesting final round, though. So one more question. Let's have a look. Okay, the last one here. KVJQXZZ. Will the welfare state collapse the UK? No, well, it's already collapsed in the UK. What will happen is that the UK the welfare state will collapse, and that will be great for the UK. That's how it will be, hopefully. The UK, the UK is not the welfare state. The welfare state hopefully will collapse, and the UK will be great again, right? Great Britain. So with that, I will end this live stream, and I thank everyone that was present here and all the questions. Really appreciate the support. And as I said, I might make a video tomorrow morning, but unfortunately, I'm going to be away tomorrow and Monday. Hopefully, I'll get a video done Monday evening, but you might have to wait till Tuesday for the next video. Thanks, everyone, for showing up. Have a great rest of the weekend. Take care. Bye.